Hello and welcome back to my channel, Wonderful Ashes community. And today we'll be answering the question of how big is the world in Alpha 2 Phase 3? And what better way to answer that question than by walking through the entire map myself. And in this video, I'll be using the basic starter mount to travel from the southernmost point in the desert, this node right here, all the way up here in the anvils to this node right here. I won't be going over here because this doesn't seem to be attached to the node just yet, and this part is the starter zone. I'll speed up the video by a lot so that you won't have to watch me do the entire thing. It will very well take a couple of hours, but I wanted to showcase some of the really cool places in Vera, including interesting POIs, as well as what a stage 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 settlement look like. So at certain points in the video, I will slow down the video and point things out to you. And I might not be doing the most optimal pathing, but I'll be opening my map multiple times to update my progress to give you a good sense of how fast I'm actually moving. The desert biome seems to be for late games level 25 plus, whereas the Riverland and Anvil seem to be for the earlier stages, as well as the tropics, and I haven't been to the rainforest yet, but I'll have to put that in a separate video. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I want to point out is where I started. There's these 3 statues here, and they look pretty cool. I don't really know what they're about, but they're all kind of coalesced around this rock. There's really nothing else around in this area, so I can't really tell you what this is for. Maybe a big event down the road. But we'll be traveling from this point to the node. I want to show you guys a really cool crystal thing I found over here. And then we'll be going all the way through the desert. We'll just try to cut it as straight shot as possible because I don't really see any roads on this map, but I'll let you guys know how that goes. So keep in mind that each biome has their own unique resource. Like for example, in the desert, they have those poppy flowers over there, as well as agave, and the trees are even unique, and they have a unique rock called sandstone. As we pass through all the different biomes, they're all going to have their own unique resource, and I won't be stopping to show you exactly what they look like. Just know that they are there, they are in-game, and they do work. As you can see here, there's these little mini overcharged shardling things. They're level 29/28. I've even seen some level 30 ones, but you kind of don't want to mess with them. I'm level 12 right now, and max level in this game is currently level 25. So it's probably best not to mess with them. Once you got a really big raid group to help you out with that. Once we stop by this node, I'll be starting the timer. And I'll put that on screen. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show you guys is what a tier 0 node looks like. Or sorry, settlement. I forgot they changed the name. As you can see, there's nothing here. When you go to the node, and you go to the center of where the picture is, what you'll see is usually like a small encampment if it's tier 1 or higher, but at a wilderness level, the entire place is going to be empty. A lot of the times, they exist on platforms like this, because I feel like the way nodes are built out, they have certain buildings and certain spaces allotted to them. But as you can see here, there's absolutely nothing here. That is because this node is rank 0. It looks like people are doing stuff here, which is why the node EXP says it's level 14, but it's been really buggy so far, and I don't know exactly how much high level this is. The map indicates that there's rivers and stuff around, but I can't really tell if they're actually here or not. It might be based on whether or not certain events are happening. These might actually just be the rock ridges too. I can't really tell. But yeah, nothing really interesting going on at a stage 0 node. There's pretty much nothing here. There's no vendors. There's no equipment vendor. There's nothing. There will, however, always be an Ember Spring at where the node is, with the Phoenix Sentinels. I don't think the Phoenix Sentinels do anything. They might be for anti-PvP stuff, but I haven't seen them fight like a raven or like a bird or something. Alright, and without further ado, the timer is in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to put up there right now, and let's get the show on the road. I'm going to be putting this on fast forward, like I said, so you might hear me talking from time to time when I slow down and point things out to you. We'll just be putting this on really fast forward, but I'll try to keep it slow enough so that it looks smooth, so that you can see some of the scenery around you while you're walking. The game really is beautiful to look at, and I have my settings on medium right now. Later on, I'll change it to higher graphics. You'll probably see it when I get into the tropics territory, but yeah, for now, just enjoy the scenery. So I'm not going to slow down the video here because the POI here isn't marked on the map. It looks like there's a giant cave full of crystal gems here, but as you can see, it's actually not marked on the map. I wonder if this is a design choice or if it's not showing up correctly, but there seems to be a lot of places, just like that place that I showed right at the start before we actually began the run. Uh, it looked like something that could be of significance, but it's not marked. So POIs are normally marked by like a square diamond. I probably bring up the map on occasion to show it. Raids are like this diamond with like more spikes around it, I guess. And some places on the map that I've went past, like for example that crystal, I didn't exactly go there on this run, but if you did go past it, you would notice that there's no mark there, but there's clearly something going on. So I'm really curious just to see what Intrepi's going to do with these things. Alright, so coming up here is a lawless PvP zone, and lawless PvP zones are these purple round spots that are marked on the map. They can occur pretty much anywhere as far as I know, but mostly I've only seen them in the same places over and over again. They can happen at not at the starter zone where you first spawn, but in the nodes directly outside of it where like level 5 to 10 mobs are. So I think what they're trying to encourage is more PvP in these kinds of areas. But yeah, as you can tell, if you look at the mobs from here, they're glowing gold and they have this buff on them. I'm not exactly sure what it does because the buff is kind of unspecific. Maybe it makes them stronger or something, but from what I hear, it gives them a lot of increased drop rate. And yeah, I guess these mobs will be highly sought after from time to time, depending on what kind of things that guilds are looking for. Uh, yeah, I just kind of walk right past it because I am level 12. This area is way too high for me, and I'm not looking for PvP at the moment. Down the road, for sure, but just not right now. So walking through this map, I also found that there's a lot of POIs that are just kind of like buried under things. I know it's just this little square that denotes like where things are at this moment, but these are entire dungeons, and a lot of these places go pretty deep underground as far as I can tell. It's like there's whole tunnel systems and everything. And as you know, like what you see on the surface of the map isn't exactly just what there is. That pit that we were at earlier, it seemed like it had its own thing that could leap down into the water. I heard there's supposed to be like an oasis somewhere around here. I didn't exactly get to a lot of the points on the map that I wanted to, just because the purpose of this video was to see how fast it takes for me to get from one side to the other. And I try to avoid mobs as best as I can. I'm pretty sure later down the road my mount actually dies here. But fun fact, you can actually get 2 mounts in this game, and I do recommend that because there's this funny trick that I like to do where you can jump off high spaces, and if you're on your mount, you won't take damage. Your mount's going to explode, but you'll be fine. So if you're just trying to get from a super high point on the map to a lower point on the map, sometimes you can jump off with your mount and then spawn it later on. If your mount dies, it's not really that big of a deal. Uh, they typically respawn in like 10 minutes, so just having 2 of them on a 10-minute rotation is pretty neat. I don't know if this is an exploit or not, or if they're going to fix this when the game comes out, but it's just something you can do. It helped me a lot with making this video, so there's that. And now we're coming up into the Riverlands biome. I could have made it a little bit sooner if I cut across this mountain area, but I think what I wanted to showcase first was this tier 3 settlement. And once we get to the settlement, I'll show you around the city a little bit. You can actually see like, oh my god, I think this is really cool that you can see like the Tower of Carfin in the distance. If you look around, the Tower of Carfin's to my north, and I think the spawner started zone is like this big rift thing at the gateway, and it's all the way to the west. You can only see like the top of it. There's a couple of other really big structures that you can see, and I mean, if they can like spawn something in like this later on, I don't know exactly what we're gonna do. Like maybe like a meteor crashes down on us or something, or alien invasion, things spring up from the ground. That could be really awesome. Just being able to see it visually across the entire map just makes it really imposing, and walking up to it is just super awesome. And now, as you can see, we're heading up onto I think this is Miralith. This is the tier 3 node, I believe, and Or sorry, it's the tier 3 settlement. I'm never going to get over calling things nodes because I've been following this game for a long time. And they just always call it nodes. And now they changed the settlements. But yeah, this town looks really well built out. This is actually the first time I visited it. And it looks really good. I mean, like, they have a marketplace here and they have all the crafting stations. It's really, really convenient to have crafting stations in a node. It just seems like the jump from a tier 2 node to a tier 3 node is so big. I can't get over how big it is. Once you get to a tier 2 node, you'll understand. Like I think right there one of the mobs just kind of like ran to the city. Those little mushroom things, they when they die they explode. So they fart poison gas on you and they do it in AoE. So I can see how they can maybe grief low level people in cities if you get like a high level mushroom to explode. Um, but yeah, usually the guards take care of it. They do take care of those things on occasion, but sometimes it's just really slow. And as you can see here, I'm going through the marketplace. Players can set up their own marketplace at the nodes. I think you have to get citizenship in them before you can list anything. But my friend asked me to look up the prices of something, so I came around and I just started poking around the marketplace to see what's available. Um, Unfortunately, the node that I decided to set up home in is in the boonies way up north, and we don't even have a tier 2 node. Like, the anvils, I don't know, something's definitely wrong with the leveling system at the moment, because 2 days ago, the node had 5% experience. A day ago, it had 0. Today, it has 4. Like, it just feels like it's not really progressing at all, even though things are happening. My guild and I have been work in this zone for a while, and like even though we want to level it, there's only like you kind of have to stay within the certain zone spot to level it, you know, like because everyone who got the Winstead to level up is like fishing in Winstead because there's a really convenient place to fish and all the crafting stations are there. But that doesn't happen in the north. Like the crafting stations here are so far away from us. One other thing I want to note that before I left the node, you saw me talking to the caravansary person. We actually don't have that in tier 2 nodes either, and I thought that was really odd. There's a bridge there's like a port station near me that has like storage options for guilds, and also I assume you can launch caravans from there. But for some reason, there's no caravansary on tier 2 settlements and lower, so I never understood where to drop things off. There's like a drop box there, and I assume you just throw things there until it gets done. But it didn't it didn't really like spring out to me as intuitive. I think like a small tutorial on that could definitely help. And once I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, anyways, it's just such a pain in the butt to go from one crafting station to the other. Whereas when the town hits stage 3, it's just gonna like rapidly go to stage 4 right after that because you can just get everyone wants to be there, you know? Not to mention, one thing I do want to bring up too, the certification to level up your like crafting, gathering, whatever to past 10, you can level it past 10. But to apply for the certificate, you have to be at level 10 and you have to be at a like a certifier person. And the only places you can get certified are the like 6 places down south in the Riverlands. It's right next to the starting locations in the Riverlands. So if I wanted to level up my herbalism to apprenticeship, which is the level 10 to 20, I'd have to go all the way from the north down to the south. You don't get a trainer up there. It's really, really annoying. As you can see here, we're coming up on the next city, and I'm going to slow it down right here. If you take a look at the top left, they upgraded their nodes. So like nodes already have these benefits that they can convert to the zone itself in the area. The tier 4 settlement looks really, really good, by the way. It's actually looks like a town, which is kind of cool. I don't know if these are apartments or what kind of buildings they are. They tell you a little bit about themselves. Like, for example, the one with the cool dragon statue is like on the left. They called it a hunting lodge, so that looks pretty neat. The economy is kind of panning out pretty quickly, but I just wanted to see how things were. As they level up the node and sorry, as they level up the settlement, they can actually see that their crafting stations are leveling up as well. For example, like you can craft 2 things at once. If you have to wait for things to process for a while, then you can put 2 things in there at once to see how that goes. So I'm going up to the top of the town. There's this like church looking spot. and I think this is like the mayoral office. It's so neat. I didn't get a chance to go inside. I don't think you actually can. But there's things like religions that aren't in the game yet. There's a couple of things that aren't in the game yet, unfortunately. But those will all come with time. This is an alpha. An alpha is not supposed to be complete. Right there, you saw me talking to the the person you're supposed to talk to if you want citizenship in this node, and that's a whole nother system. We can talk about that for a whole nother video. But I just wanted to stop by to see how things were before I moved on to the other spot. I know I didn't showcase this properly, but if you looked at the top left hand corner of my screen, there's a buff that looks like a road. That's the Trailblazer buff. And when you're on the road itself, it gives you a travel speed bonus. So on this road in this node, the travel speed has been upgraded to 12%. I think the base speed is 3%. At my tier 2 node back up in the anvils, it's 3% is like hardly noticeable. But when I was on this 12% movement speed buff spot, it was very, very noticeable. Next, we're going to stop at this other settlement right ahead of us before we can transition into the tropics, and then we can transition from the tropics to the anvils. Like I mentioned, we won't be going into the rainforest type biome anytime this video. I'm probably gonna have to put that into a separate video because it's so far off into the distance. It's all the way southwest, and we're trying to go from southeast to northwest. I also want to point out that a lot of the mobs in this area aren't exactly super high level. They're around my level. I don't really know what determines how high the mobs are in an area, since the ones where generally no people are at can either be super high or super low. There's definitely some progression path that they kind of set out for you to be able to progress. And now we're at a rank 2 settlement. This is a level 2 settlement, and there's nothing here. This place absolutely sucks. I actually crashed out when I first got to the settlement that we were going to call our home for a while, because it is absolutely devoid of any things. I kind of picked up a couple of things to bring back up with me up north, because like you can't get certain resources in certain places, especially a lot of the starter things that you need. For example, oak and ash wood you can only get in this Riverland zone, and those are what you need for a lot of the starting crafting equipment, which kind of sucks. That's another reason to start in the Riverlands. It just seems like starting the anvils is such a bad idea because there's just nothing convenient up there for you. There are a couple things that need Western Larchwood, but you probably don't need those until after level 10. It just seems like the Riverlands is the best place for a new player to start. And yeah, as you can see on those in level 2 settlements, there's almost no crafting stations there. I think most of them can pick from like 5 or 6 things, and I don't know what determines them because you're not allowed to have a mare until rank 3. There's no caravansary, there's no like guild storage house, there's no housing, there's pretty much nothing until it hits stage 3. And that's why it's so frustrating trying to rank up my the settlement that I'm living in, because it's just there's no one there and there's no reason to be there. Okay, and now you see we are heading into the tropics biome. It's very palm tree-y. It looks good. I mean, like there's a lot of islands that are scattered throughout, and we don't get even near those islands because those are very, very high level. And not to mention, they're in the water. You can actually get water mounts right now. I saw a couple of people riding manatees earlier, but I don't know how to get those just yet. Someone's got to teach me how to do that. The palm trees in this area are unique. You can get ferns here. I think they're called like giant ferns. There's also other types of herbalism things you can get, depending on the type of fauna. I remember the first time I ran through this area, it was really, really obnoxious because the road is littered with iguanas. There's just iguanas everywhere. And you can see me like cutting through the middle paths of the forest because there is no road on wilderness type nodes, or on wilderness type settlements. There's like no road for me to follow. So I just cut through the quickest path that I can. One other thing I wanted to point out too there, I'm slowing down the video so you guys can watch, but when I crossed the water area, you saw me get flagged for PvP. I think it's a thing in this game that in the open waters, everybody is automatically flagged for PvP. I don't know if that's supposed to be a feature. They did something like that in Arc Age, so I think Steven was kind of going for something similar, just to encourage like the player activity or the tension across the seas. So I'm totally down with it, by the way. Don't get me wrong, I'm just kind of reporting on things that I'm observing. I'm not super for or against it one way or another, until I see the other systems kind of intermingle with each other. And I hope you guys reserve your judgment until you see everything kind of play together as well. Once again, I do want to remind you that it is in Alpha 2, Phase 3, so we still have a whole year worth of this. They said they were going to patch the servers every 3 weeks for a small patch and 6 weeks for a big one. They listed out all the cool things that they wanted for, I think it's called Engines of Chaos is the next patch that's going to be coming in November. My birthday's around November. I'm pretty excited for that. So we'll see what happens with that. So at this point in the video, I do think I switch over from my medium graphics to high graphics. There is auto walking, by the way. There's some games that don't have auto walk, and I was so frustrated. And the lighting, I think, is the biggest change. There are some issues with the lighting that I've come to find, especially going from like darker spaces to lighter spaces. But for the most part, the lighting looks beautiful. Like, I don't know if you saw the archway. I kind of pan over to it a couple times. It looks really pretty. And we are officially in the Anvils. Like, the tropics goes really far out west. It doesn't go very far north. It's just that one biome and then like a bunch of islands towards the west. And I'm pretty sure when they release as well, they're going to have a full underwater zone for you to explore. And if it's anything like Arc Ages, it's going to be super cool. I never really liked water combat, but who knows? It's just kind of something that happens. And the ships that are going to be available, I'm really looking forward to that too. If I can ever get out of here. Okay, so one thing that I gotta mention in the Anvils, this place, it's beautiful, it's humongous, but man, does it suck here. One of the biggest things I think a lot of people were complaining about was the density, the sheer density of the mobs. The architecture, don't get me wrong, is beautiful. Like, I can see that giant hill up in the distance. The mountainous range is gorgeous to look at. There's like bits of ancient civilization that you can kind of tell, like from these stone bridges. I think there's like stone statues that you can see later up, but this place is littered with mobs everywhere. I could not catch a break here, and I've had to deal with this the whole time, even though no one really comes here, and this is kind of between two zones. The mobs here were like pretty decently high leveled, higher than I could be able to take on my own. As you can see, my mount died there, so I just summoned my another mount. Good thing I got two, right? But I think this one actually dies as well. One thing that's really annoying is just the sheer amount of birds, because certain mobs you can kind of outrun. Highwaymen raiders do end up charging you, but like wolves and birds, they've come out in droves. Like there's a mountain lion here hunting me at the moment. Most of the time they just like circle around after hitting you a few times, but some of the higher level ones can just straight up one shot your mount. I'm not sure how it happens, but I think your mount has a chance to like be insta killed if you are riding on it. I'm not sure how it happens or if that's supposed to be the case, but it does happen. Like, this is supposed to be kind of a starter zone, I feel like, but there is a lawless zone throughout this section. Luckily, the lawless zones aren't too big, and I don't think anyone's really looking to PvP at this point in the game. I'm sure there are people who are fighting for the important farming spots, but for our purposes, we're just kind of exploring the game right now so I can get this information out to you guys, and we just continue on the road. I would travel on the road. It's a 3% bonus. It's really not so big of a deal. There's like really cool bridges that you can come across, and this zone is kind of split into very, very hilly regions. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I personally find it kind of annoying that it's stratified so much, because there's very, very few entry points from the super low points to the super high points. Makes things a little difficult to find, and also there's caves like throughout this spot. I don't think I come across any of them here, but there's a dungeon called Surge Conduit, I think. It's near the Kaltorum node that we're staying in, and it goes in. Like these giant mountains, there's insides of them. So you can just imagine how big this mountainous region actually is. I think this is actually the biggest region since it took me the longest time to get through. And I've had to reroute myself a couple of times, and I'm just trying to like run for my life here because there's mobs literally everywhere and they don't de-aggro very easily. I sleep that bird, and then all of a sudden I get swarmed with even more birds. And the mount time deaths are actually not on the same cooldown. So you saw my mount die earlier, and my mount just died now. But this mount is back up, and hopefully I just bring my current mount existing. Look at how many birds there are here. There's like a trillion birds, and I'm just trying my best to avoid between them. I dish my mount and I just try to heal myself up so that I can live. Clerics have this cool ability where if you're going to die, you come back to life at 1 health. Like you just keep going. Like there's literally nowhere for me to go here. There's a hole down there. I found that the living at 1 health ability also saves you from fall damage, which I don't think should be the case. I feel like that could be abusable in some cases, so they might want to look into that. Yeah, I just barely get out of there by the skin of my teeth. But if I did die, that would have added so much time onto the clock. Luckily, I got away. But my mount is dead. So take the rest of this run how you will. It took me 55 minutes just to get up here. I did stop a little bit at the cities. And I think the last zone that I'm going to get to is just a little bit further. There are just mobs littered everywhere. The good thing about it is that the resources are plenty. No one's fighting for you over them. So there's just straight up meadows full of daffodils and snowdrops, which are the earliest tier of herbs you can gather. And they're just littered throughout the mountain for free. I don't stop by any of those to get them because it would just take up too much time. And I just run along the road to get that Trailblazer buff and try to get to the node as soon as I can. There's so many mobs here. It's just like, I think this is one of the nodes that are intended to be built out faster because this whole zone is just mobs. Like there's nothing here except for mobs of minotaurs and birds. Sometimes there's mountain lions here. And I just try to cut through the whole thing. I'm not going to go all the way around because they're on the road too. I managed to get out of there just barely. I'm kind of melting here. But we come across the node and I finally make it back home. This is what my node looks like, you guys. It's pretty much the tier 2 node here, or the tier 2 settlement here looks exactly like the tier 2 settlement back in the Riverlands. I say hi to my guildmate that I found here. I just /wave to him really quick so I can finish out this video. And yeah, as you can see here, the type of crafting stations are going to be slightly different based on where you are. I think most of them have these though. I don't know what determines them. And yeah, storage is local to which settlement you are at. So just make sure you know where you kept your stuff. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. If you have any questions or have things that you want to see and you're not currently in the alpha, feel free to let me know and I'll try to do a run through of those areas for you. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!